to present to you all tonight. The first rezoning request went before Bristol's Regional Planning Commission, and the second went to Sullivan County's. So the first one, the request is to rezone Mr. Dover's property from R1 to A5. And in your packet, you can read along, but the purpose of the request is so that he can build a larger multi-purpose garage storage building. In your packet, I illustrated the topography, the existing subdivision map. Thank you so much. He has built his home back up there. As you can see from the aerial image and also in your packet, this is actually not part of the subdivision. This is utilizing that existing cul-de-sac street, but this was remaining acreage and it was never further developed. I suspect that is because of the topography. So he would like to keep it at this large tract at 7.5 acres. The Bristol Planning Commission voted in favor of this request, and so do we. There are pictures that we took of the property.
You've heard the explanation on amendment number 1. Any questions for Mrs. Corbett on amendment number 1? I was a little distracted, Mrs. Corbett. Somebody had an oven timer set up here. I don't know if that was...
That's not very nice.
I don't know if that was timing me or you, but...
Trying to do the landowner some justice and explaining it, but yeah.
Anyone from the public have any questions or comments on amendment number 1? Does anyone here from the public comment, Mrs. Corbett?
Not that I'm aware of.
Without objection, are you ready to vote on amendment number 1? As soon as the board opens on amendment number 1, cast your vote on amendment number 1. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote on amendment number 1? Madam Clerk?
21 yes, 3 absent.
Having received the necessary majority for passage, amendment number 1 is adopted. Without objection, Mrs. Corbett on amendment number 2.
Thank you so much. The second request is for Gateway Development. They are the buyers of several tracts of land in Blumpville off Holly Road. There we go. Try to put stars on every portion of the tracts that they're purchasing. As you can see in blue are their planned manufacturing districts, PMD2 and PMD1. Their request is to rezone it R1, which is single-family residential, and R3B, which is still single-family residential, but smaller lots such as townhouses and patio homes. This request went to our Planning Commission last month. The Planning Commission forwards a favorable recommendation to you all. There were folks in the audience at our Planning Commission meeting who, of course, were upset that this is no longer farmland. Some of them didn't know it was owned manufacturing for 20 years. So there was some information sharing at the Planning Commission meeting, and we do have one of the partners here if you have any questions for them. In your packet, we included their concept plan, so you can see the split zoning request. A portion of it will be served by Johnson City Public Water and Public Sewer. And so that will be the R3B zoning because they can achieve that higher density.
You've heard the explanation on amendment number 2. Any questions for Mrs. Corbett on amendment number 2? Mr. Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, I don't have any questions for you, but I do have a question for Clay, if I could ask him, please. Clay Walker, is he here? Yes, sir. Clay, if we approve this tonight for that type of structure, is that property, is it owned by Networks?
Yes, sir. The Networks has reached an agreement. They had
option on the property, provided that their due diligence proved that they wanted to do that.
Okay.
As Commissioner Gardner stated, or Amber may have stated, it is industrial property that we've owned since the inception of Networks. The front of the property where FedEx is, and, is like the prime stuff, and it's pretty much gone. Back there, because of residential development that's come up around it,
Okay.
as well as that road, being narrow and windy road, it's not as marketable of an industrial site as other sites we're trying to develop have under development. So we view this.
Commissioner Crosswhite, then Commissioner Means.
Clay, you know, I live right up the road from that. That's beautiful, beautiful land, and I'm glad it's going for housing rather than commercial, but what did you originally get for that land?
I could tell you, Commissioner Locke asked me earlier, the board reviewed it, and it kind of gets tricky as what we gave for the land. You could break it down per acre, but we sold land in the front for more than if you broke that down. And then in the back, so it kind of has a decreasing value as you go further. I believe we came out flush on it, though, as my recommendation from the talking, that we're not losing any money on it. The big thing is the tax revenue generated, because again, it's sitting there not generating any kind of commercial revenue or jobs or anything of that nature, but it's also not putting $1 into the coffers for taxes because it's on a public entity. And I think when this is through, this they develop it, we've run the numbers, it's going to be a couple $100,000 a year going into the county for it, as opposed to zero.
Have you had any complaints about more traffic on that road?
I did not attend the zoning. Michael Parker was here. He's worked with Amber on this and with the developer on it. I think as he, in secondhand information, but and Amber can speak to it more than I can, but it was about, again, the concern, they thought it was farmland, but, I mean, the alternative use would be industry, which might not be as heavy as in number of cars, but I think it would be much more desirable to have just automobiles than anything industrial going up and down that road.
Yeah. Johnson City Sewer and Water, does that cover all of it or just part of it?
So it's actually Bluntwell Water and Johnson City Sewer.
Okay.
Johnson City Sewer could only provide for the patio homes in the back. And so you'll see on your concept plan the smaller lots. The normal half-acre to 1.5 acre lots will be septic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, looking forward to it. Thank you all.
Commissioner Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, is this the land that the Battle of Bluntwell has been on?
Yes.
Is this the exact land?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Means. Anyone else have any questions for Mrs. Torben on amendment number 2? Mrs. Torben, does anyone here from the public like to speak on amendment number 2?
Did you want to speak, ma'am?
Possibly. Is this about the property?
Holly Road.
On Holly Road?
Yes.
Yes,
Did you want to speak?
but I missed what was said before. Has this been brought up, or what was?
This is the final hearing for the rezoning
Okay.
for the residential development.
Okay.
So if you signed up If not, the chairman is asking if anyone from the public wants to address.
If anyone from the public does wish to speak on amendment number 2, when you come up, give us your name and your address, and you'll be given 3 minutes for address to the commission. So if anyone would like to participate in that, here's your opportunity.
I didn't know it was going to be the first thing on the agenda, but hello, my name is Allison Mills Mill, and my address is 232 Minga Road, Kingsport, Tennessee. I'm a 7th generation farmer on a historical farm. We farm 110 acres, and we have an active cattle operation. It's called Foothill Frolic Farm. You all might have seen maybe a sign on Highway 75. And I actually am an active partner with Robert Helby, in which he married into the family of the Wagners, which has held that land that's up for question on Holly Road for many generations. Before, I understand that it was sold, and the whole county, the county networks, back in the day. And I guess I was just curious because I've never been involved in any sort of commission meeting or been involved in how things get rezoned, or wondering if any of the commissioners, in which I know some of you are farmers or have been farmers, and just the concern of how our region is experiencing rapid growth and development, and of course that is significantly impacting agriculture on a local level. And we know that everyone driving by, and I know not many people are involved in agricultural these days because of the older generations passing on. And I guess I just wanted to represent the younger voices for our generations that are still trying to farm and upholding that. And I just wanted to make a voice for this property, in which I know is a little different because it's actually owned by Sullivan County. It's not privately owned, and I understand we as citizens have the right to sell and do what we want to do with land. But I just wanted to speak out and wonder, has on the commission, do you all have any creative or alternative plans to wanting to help preserve some of our farming heritage and I understand it's all about the dollar, and of course with the sale of land and development, I know that that's how the county makes a big portion of your money because of development and property taxes. But I just wondered, is there anything actively that you all have ever talked about how you could help preserve or promote a sense of agriculture moving forward in this time in which we're rapidly losing farmland? And it was just something that I wanted to make a point to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Vanover seeks recognition.
Ms. Mills, I feel like this is kind of where I need to speak. I'm a farmer, Dwight's a farmer, Herschel's a farmer. We've got a lot of farmers in here too, and everybody feels your pain. And there's not a lot the county can do to help farmers. It's mostly at the state level. We've got the Greenbelt property tax laws to help farmers. We've got the exemption for sales tax when you go buy products. So most of those things to help farmers are done at the state level. I wish there was things we could do at the county level more, but your pain has been felt by a lot of people, so I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mrs. Torres, does anyone else have any questions or comments on amendment number 2? Oh, excuse me. Commissioner King.
Thank you. There again, farmer, 7 generations also. And as our population, farmers get older and they get to the end of their life and their children move off, they don't want to have anything to do with the farm. they just, you know, there's not enough money made in it for them to stay. So the only choice that they've got is either farm it or sell it, and most of them, you know, they sell it. The only thing that you could do is, as a family, or the head is to put it in a conservation trust. And that way it can never be sold as long as it was in that trust. And that's a lot of your bigger farms that they're wanting to keep in agriculture. That's what they're doing. They're putting those farms in a trust, and then, you know, they that trust pays them for keeping it in that farm. So they're generating revenue, and they're not having to sell their farm. So that's something that, you know, they can do and not sell it.
Which I have had actually on my husband's side of the family, where he was from Middle Tennessee, and actually we had the opportunity to actually work with the Land Trust of Tennessee, and we were able to put 182 acres in the Land Trust for Tennessee. So I've had it on both sides of the family, and currently in our family, it's a Gammon Mills, and you know, we're going to keep it in the family, and there's not really a question of that wanting to sell, because it's, you know, my goal to continue to keep the farm viable and economically viable with what we're doing, because we're changing markets and we're trying to find local niches in the local beef market. But and I understand that there are ways to keep family land, and it was just mainly just posing it to, since this is a Sullivan County owned piece of property, just, you know, what it means for the county to be able to say, you know, you all actually own this piece of land, and is there any sort of alternative thing that could possibly come about from the county owning land, or if it's just always going to be sold because that is just the track record.
Well, when we bought this from the Wagners, that was the whole concept. And when we bought it, was turn it into an industrial park.
Right.
And at that time, there was a 4-lane road supposed to go right through it.
Mm-hmm.
And when the road didn't go through, then things changed.
Right.
So, you know, we could sell it to a farmer if he wants to buy it and pay the $17,000 an acre.
Mm-hmm.
That's not feasible.
But there could be individuals that possibly would be willing to pay that much per acre, not even being a farmer, but keep it as a whole piece of land. I mean, prices of land are going for, you know, $20,000 to $40,000 an acre these days. And so my question, what is the cost? What is the cost of, what are you all selling this to the developer for?
17.5 is
So you're keeping it the same, in which it was around 18 or 18.5 is what I think you all purchased it from the Wagners from back, you know, a long time ago. So you all are, so my question is, why are you all offering it at such a cheap price when land is going for a higher price these days? But I mean, it's just a question, not the old answer.
Well, there again, you've got to have a buyer and a seller to agree on a price. And we haven't had anybody stepping up to purchase that land.
Okay, so this has been your all's first offer on the property?
No. So, but that, again, and, you know, Networks is the one that's handling all this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can talk to Clay Walker back there about all these, get the facts and figures. If he was willing to talk to you, he's, you know, with the Networks in Sullivan County, and they're the ones that's handling this. So I would suggest you talking to him, and he can fill you in on all the facts.
Okay.
And thank you, ma'am, for participating in our public comment.
Thank you.
Now, let's get back to the amendment itself. Mrs. Torben.
Sure, well, everything else I think is highlighted in your staff report. This is in our planned growth area with urban services, which is one of the reasons why we're supporting this as opposed to the rural area of the growth plan. Planning Commission forwards a unanimous favorable recommendation to you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Torben. That clears the board. Without any objection, are you ready to vote on amendment number 2? When the board opens, cast your vote on amendment number 2. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk?
21 yes, 3 absent.
After receiving necessary majority for passage, amendment number 2 is adopted. Mrs. Corbett on the zoning text amendment approved.
Thank you. Back to the PowerPoint. When you bring that up, of course, everything is in your packet. These two text amendments come from staff and the Planning Commission. It has been through Bristol and Kingsport Planning Commission as well. The first one is very minor. We missed it the last time we went around to you all with this amendment, but basically this cleans up Article 7 when someone is requesting a variance to the number of parking spaces and loading spaces, any overflow parking, not the main number. The Planning Commission cannot grant variances to the zoning resolution, only the Board of Zoning Appeals. So all we're asking is to strike out Planning Commission to Board of Zoning Appeals. And that, as you know, the Board of Zoning Appeals hears a case-by-case scenario based on topography and all the other types of situations that it may arise. We actually haven't had we've only had one request since I've been here to reduce one parking, and that was granted, one parking stall. So this, again, is just a legal matter to take out Planning Commission and put Board of Zoning Appeals.
You've heard the explanation on amendment number 3. Any questions for Mrs. Corbett on amendment number 3? Without objection, are you ready to vote on amendment number 3? When the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 3. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk?
21 yes, 3 absent.
After receiving necessary majority for passage, amendment number 3 is adopted. Without objection, Mrs. Corbett on amendment number 4.
Okay, the last section in your packet is dealing with special events on private property. The zoning code in Appendix B has a full section on how the Board of Zoning Appeals deals with requests to have private events on private property, such as a wedding on a 5-acre tract or B&B, something like that. We didn't have any provisions on public events on private property. So where it's either ticketed or it's a special event open to the entire public. And as a rule of thumb, anytime you invite the private, you invite the public to your private property, there should be some minimum safety standards put in place, such as where are they going to park? How long is this event going to take place? Are there restroom facilities? So the Planning Commission spent several months reviewing our existing zoning code and how we can deal with the occasional request for a public event on private property. And private property can be commercial. And so this is really dealing with anything that's not owned by the government. So, or churches. So this is business property or residential agricultural. The amendments take up a few pages in the use provisions and supplemental regulations, and I've highlighted in your packet what those are. I bullet pointed on that first slide. Basically, we wanted to clean up language on a temporary use or a reoccurring seasonal use. Some people want to open up their property as a bed and breakfast or wedding venue or meeting venue, corporate retreats, things like that. We've been plugging along with the Board of Zoning Appeals perfectly for 15 years on this, but we hadn't dealt with public events that are advertised on Facebook and things like that. So we needed to have some provisions in there and ensure that those events also have some design guidelines. Takes any subjectivity out of it. When you have things written in your zoning code that the Board of Zoning Appeals can follow, the applicant knows what they have to deal with. They know they need to get some restroom facilities, things like that. So in your packet, we've highlighted that, needed a use on review by the Board of Zoning Appeals. And so hopefully we've covered ourselves in case an opportunity comes up for a special event.
You've heard the explanation on amendment number 4. We have a couple of people seeking recognition. First recognized Commissioner Locke, then Commissioner Slade.
So what this is, for an example, like Earhart Campground, is that right?
Yeah, that's in the city, but yes.
But say,
Right,
okay,
right.
or say, for example, Mr. Vanover,
Mhm.
he's holding a Republican party at his farm with 200 people.
Mhm.
So he needs to go through your office.
No, some things can be approved administratively. So large farms already have protection under the Agritourism Liability Act. So if you have 15 acres or more and you're a working commercial farm, you already have some protection there from the state law, such as wedding venues and things like that. But smaller properties that are not under that category, such as a different campground, let's say, that was permitted for a seasonal campground or a temporary campground in the county, not the city limits, and they wanted to have a special event open to the public where there would be music, food, all those types of things. That should have some type of oversight by the county.
On their own property.
That's crazy.
But you're opening it up to the general public.
It's the property owner that's opening it up. But I disagree with this. I mean, there's no rules for us to manage a piece of property we don't own.
So and these are outdoor events.
That's fine.
So if you're zoned, for example, agricultural, and you're a grandfathered in campground and you wanted to open it up to the general public for an event that wasn't otherwise approved as a campground, it's just, they can do whatever they want. So zoning, you don't have free range to do whatever you want on private property because it affects the neighbors. It affects where are they going to use the restroom? Where are they going to park? On a campground, it is designed for their guests, their users. Planning Commission approved a site plan. They have accommodations for those users. But if they open it up to the general public with no capacity, I mean, they might have all thought about it, but the surrounding landowners have no voice then, is what you're saying. They can't oppose it. They can't come to the mayor's office or our office. I would say this is very infrequent, but it happened this summer and we had nothing in place to oversee it.
Well, if they cause a nuisance or a traffic issue, that's the sheriff's department. But I'm done.
Okay.
Commissioner Slagle, then Commissioner Glover.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. Thank you, Amber. Question on B106 on the back page, temporary special events, item 1. Why would we take the period not longer than 15? Why would we strike the limitation on days?
So a temporary event is a one-time event. So,
Not if there's not a limit on days.
so we're not talking about, well, I guess they wanted to leave it up to the Board of Zoning Appeals to accommodate the user if it was a special event for a one-time activity or a reoccurring event.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me to remove that requirement or to not have any requirement at all. So if I own a property in the county that borders city limits and I want to have a public event on my property and I want to play YMCA at midnight every night for an undetermined amount of time, it's probably not going to be great for my neighbors in the city, being that the noise ordinances are different. There's a whole lot of issues with this in my mind. I agree with Commissioner Locke as well in his comments.
Commissioner Glover, then Commissioner Means. Commissioner Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, the problem I've got with this, it's private property. We own it, we pay taxes on it, and a lot of us are respectful to our neighbors. But it's coming to a point in time where we're gonna have to quit sticking our nose in private property owners' business. And it's come that time. Enough is enough. And I'm not gonna support this, and I'm asking the rest of you not to support this. Because we live out in the county for a reason. If you wanna walk out on the porch at 8 o'clock at night, pee off the porch, that's your business. And it's time for us to stand up and say enough's enough. And I am not gonna support this. That's all I've got.
Commissioner Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Amber, and your department, and for all the work that you do. My issue is that special events is not clearly defined. And furthermore, I'm in complete and total agreement with Commissioner Glover and Commissioner Locke and Commissioner Slagle. This isn't the city, this is the county. And I purposefully live in the county for the reasons Commissioner Glover talked about, except I'm not. Anyways.
So my response.
Right there with you. Thank you.
My response is, this is a reflection of what was brought to our attention. So we studied in our department for several months and brought it to the Planning Commission. I sent all these packets out, I think 3 weeks ago, didn't hear back from anyone. I would have loved the opportunity to go through that. This is a reflection of what has occurred with nothing in place. So the question is, I live in a rural area of the county, and if the person next door to me had a reoccurring event, I would be upset. On a rural road, I would be upset. So, trying to find the balance here. If they want to have a special event open to the general public, not a private wedding or something like that, not a private event that they are hosting as their guest. This is something that they're trying to make money off of. It is open to the general public. And that's the difference here of what we're talking about. I hope for folks who live out in the county and they don't live in a subdivision with other restrictions, if my neighbor wanted to have a reoccurring event and there was nothing in place for the Board of Zoning Appeals or staff to look at, just free for all, I think you all would be upset too. And our office would be getting the complaints. So that's where this is coming from. I understand what you're trying to say. There's lots of areas in the county that are no longer as rural as we would like for them to be. And there you go.
Commissioner Van, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Holbert, I respect what you're trying to do. You're trying to protect the neighbors, but you can't really make people behave and do the right thing by zoning. It's like Ms. Mills was talking about, it don't matter if you got 5 acres or 500 acres. If you're ambitious enough to go out there and make a pumpkin patch or sell straw or anything you can do, if you're that ambitious to try to help pay your property taxes and make a living, I think we should let people do that. So I respect what you're trying to do and thank you for that, but I can't support it either.
So when does it become a commercial side business? When does it become not a residential land use?
We have some other folks on the board with questions, comments. I recognize Commissioner Crosswhite and Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mayor. Amber, thank you. Now, the situation we had this summer with a campground trying to have an event, would this open them up that they could do this if they wanted to?
It would provide a public meeting for the neighbors to have an opportunity to voice any concerns, and the Board of Zoning Appeals could hear. It might be that they have everything taken care of. That is just one example. Right now, we don't have anything for public events of private property.
But I thought in this situation that wasn't zoned for that, is that correct?
That's right, it's on B1 neighborhood business,
So,
and the campground is grandfathered in.
the part I couldn't.
The campground is grandfathered in as a temporary campground for raceway traffic.
But they didn't get to have the event, correct? Because.
Well, they did because we didn't have anything to guide them otherwise.
Okay. Kind of confusing, but thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner King on the amendment, please.
Thank you. Amber, I just got one question. Several years ago, there was an organization, used to have a couple of events twice a year to raise money for their organization, and they done it on private land. It was open to the public, they had concessions, they did stuff to raise money, and through your office, they no longer do that. And they, in fact, I think they moved to Carter County and went on with their business. But, and then on the same road that you live on, and I right across from me, we've got a ballpark. And when they're playing ball, the lights are on, 10, 11 o'clock. And when they have functions over there, you hear it. And but that's been going on for 25 years or something. And, it was, church owned it, and now it's private. And is that going to,
So
affect how what
yeah.
they're doing?
That's outdoor recreation, that's not what we're talking about. And that park has been around longer than that, I mean.
But
yeah.
it's still owned
Yeah.
by a private individual.
Right, a nonprofit, yes.
Okay, how does he get to do what he does?
Because the land use is the same. It's still a ball field. It always has been a ball field. It really can't be used for anything else because it's over the big TVA overhead transmission lines, but it doesn't matter if it changes hands, the land use stays with the land. So whether Poplar Ridge Church owned it or the Crusaders ball field, it doesn't matter who owns it.
Okay, if I want to have a fundraiser there, to raise money for my church or something, what, no matter what, and open it
This
to
is
the
not
public.
for religious.
But whoever, say I want to do it for myself,
Yeah.
I want to make money, I want to have an event out there. Can I do that?
I would say the neighbors should have some kind of voice in there. When they built their homes there, they knew that was a ball field. They didn't expect it to be a carnival or, some big reoccurring fundraiser. It just gives the neighbors a voice. It doesn't mean it won't be approved. It just makes some accommodation. I don't remember the case you were talking about. Again, if you are a commercial working farm on the exempt, that's totally different, and our office doesn't get involved. But on 5-acre tracts next to a subdivision, I know it's hard to think of every scenario, and the Planning Commission had these exact same conversations. We just wanted to have some mechanism in place so that the county had something to review, whether it was staff approved or board of zoning appeals, that there were if you read, it's just minimum requirements. It's not saying it will be shut down. And it's not private events, it's open to the general public. So if you're zoned residential, and this is something that someone might want to do on a reoccurring basis, if I were the landowner next door, I would be calling the mayor's office or our office immediately. I wouldn't want to have to put up with that. So, that's what this is about. I understand what you're saying. This isn't Amber Torbett arguing this. This is something that was brought to our attention. We studied it at length, and that's how it came to be.
Recognize Commissioner Ireson, then Commissioner McMurray. Commissioner Ireson, sir.
Just one more thing, Amber. The one thing that you said that made me question what I'm actually thinking on this. So if I want to have a party at my house, and I have enough acreage or whatever it is, I can invite anybody in the world to it, and I can have my gathering. The only time this kicks in is if I'm selling tickets.
If you're opening it up to the general public, yes, sir. Yeah.
But if I invite
If
the
you have
general
your-
public for free, does this still kick in?
I don't think the county should figure out if you're making money or not. There's no way for us to, yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanted to have a graduation party and everyone came, that's a private party. That's your business.
All right, call the question.
We have Commissioner McMurray on the board.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, just briefly, I think I see this in a different way. I think there's ways that you always do have a voice. There is always redress. But is this a problem that we should fix legislatively by making some kind of rules or zoning regulations? You can always petition the court. What you're talking about is a nuisance, and you can petition it. Petition the court, the neighbors can get together, they can seek an injunction. They can stop this behavior potentially if they win the case, if the judge decides. But I see a lot of similarities between this and the freedom of what you can do on your property, and it's like freedom of speech. I might not like what another person says. I might actually detest it, but I would fight for that person's right to say it. And I think that, somebody enjoying the property however they want to do it, as long as it's not affecting me personally or physically or affecting my land, I might not like what they're doing. It may be a bother to me. If it rises to the level of a nuisance, I can seek some kind of action. I don't want these people to think that they don't have a voice, because they do. But I don't think the voice is well heard here, is all I'm saying.
Before that clears the board. Before we vote, Mrs. Torby, would you like to add anything before we vote?
No, we get calls probably on a daily basis of a neighbor doesn't like what another neighbor is doing. Obviously, we can't zone for everything or think of every different scenario, but one of the goals of zoning is to avoid nuisance cases. Most folks cannot afford to hire a lawyer to get to that. They're going to go to the county, they're going to call our office. This was just an avenue to have a public meeting for a public event on private property. Again, if it's zoned residential or agricultural, and this is a big event that might be reoccurring over and over, the goal here was just to have some basic provisions in place to handle that.
Thank you, Mrs. Torby. Without objection, if you're ready to vote, I'm cast your vote when the board opens. Amendment number 4. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
1 yes, 20 no, 3 absent.
Having failed to receive the necessary majority for passage, amendment number 4 fails.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Torby. Without objection, that closes the public hearing for zoning. Without objection, we'll enter into our regular calendar. Next order is general public comment. Do we have a public comment sheet? Somebody signed up today. Can I sign up for that? So we'll recess for the purposes of of public comment. When you come to the front, please state your name, your address, and you'll be given 3 minutes. This is not a question-answer session. This is our time to hear from you. So first person, Tyler Nunley. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you tonight. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tyler Nunley. My address is 326 Bridwell Heights Road, Kingsport. I live in the Indian Springs community. Over the past year, Mike Ingram and myself have founded and created a retail meat sales business off of our farm. The name of our company is Holston Beef Company. We have grown rapidly. We've grown our retail business, and we're now not only serving individual families, we're also providing meat to the Second Harvest Food Bank, as well as Sullivan County School System. The reason that we are here tonight, we would like to explore the options of opening our own slaughterhouse here in Sullivan County. We offer a local product, locally raised, locally sold, but our chain breaks when it comes to processing. So currently we are having to take all of our animals across state lines to have them processed, bring them back to Sullivan County, and then sell them here in the community. Obviously, we need a slaughterhouse to support ourselves and our agribusiness, but this would extend way past our personal use. So, our goal would be to provide a facility for the use of the farmers and the producers in Sullivan County, okay, that have otherwise not been able to have their animals processed. We lack for available and reliable processing facilities in our area, as most of you all know. The benefits for a facility in Sullivan County are clear. It creates new jobs to support families in our communities. It provides farmers and producers with a local, effective option to process their livestock, which creates more revenue for Sullivan County. And it shows Sullivan County's commitment to the promotion of ag and agribusiness. Also, this has the opportunity to create educational opportunities at all levels, whether that be culinary programs, beef production, trade jobs. Those could be through extension or community college education. We are interested in finding a building or a property here in Sullivan County to begin this facility. And the reason that we came tonight was to see if there was any buildings or properties that the county might currently have that are otherwise a burden or not in use. And what we would like to do would be to speak with you further about that and explore those opportunities. We feel like that we're invested here in our community, and we would like to remain and grow in Sullivan County. So we'd welcome any of your questions or comments and look forward to speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nunn.
Yes, sir.
Next, Angie Gilmer. You've got the uniform on.
I am wearing the uniform, and each of you may have found the same on your chairs tonight. These shirts are in recognition of No Trash November. And Sullivan County's Department of Solid Waste would like to invite you to participate, to share that message, especially next Thursday night at your meeting, to remind, it'll be a photo op, but all of this is just to remind folks across the state that Sullivan County stands in support of the fact that nobody trashes Tennessee. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's next week. We wear our red uniforms. Allison Mills Neal. Oh, that was the young lady.
That was me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna probably mispronounced your last name, Jim
Duquette.
Duquette? Thank you, sir. I was leaning that direction.
How's everybody doing?
If you'll introduce yourself and give us your address.
Sure, I'm Jim Duquette, Rocky Top Campground. First off, I wanted to talk about unintended consequences with the zoning. And you guys did a good job working your way through that. Voting negative tonight on that, voting no. Zoning sometimes can go a little too far, and I think that's pretty much been the case for some stuff that's gone on in this county. Rocky Top Campground has been in business since 1976. About half of our property is developed, half of it's not. We came to the county to talk about an expansion, and were shot down right away. We looked at the zoning. The size of the lots for a campsite are the size of a lot for a residential home site. 50 feet wide by 70 feet deep with 25-foot offsets in between them. You're not allowed to be open year-round. You're not allowed to sell propane except to your customers. These are all things that Rocky Top has done and has been doing. And I understand why zoning laws got passed for campgrounds, but at the same time, there's not a campground in America that can operate underneath those zoning laws. We're also not allowed to have park model cabins. Every KOA, every Jellystone campground, every type of campground business model in the country has park models combined with campsites. Our sites are spread out, they're green. Our campground's all blacktop, and it's a clean campground. And I was just surprised that a zoning law like that got passed. And I think the reason it got passed, it was based on Amber's recommendations, but sometimes zoning's recommendations do not meet reality, and they have unintended consequences. So the zoning as it currently stands kneecaps my business to the point of not being able to do business, being that I'm out of compliance as far as expansion. I have a KOA campground that's in the city of Kingsport that's walking distance to my campground that doesn't have any zoning regulations anywhere near that. So when zoning regulations get passed, I understand they have good intentions, but a lot of times they have undesired consequences. So I understand Amber's position in the county, I understand what it is, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff that's been getting passed by the zoning commission has basically made the county not business friendly, number one, and not in a position where it's competitive with, or even close to what the zoning regulations are anywhere else. My campground is one example, but there's a lot of other examples from talking to people in the county where zoning has pretty much had unintended consequences with the way that they were put in place. So I was just wondering what the process is. If you guys just take her recommendations, I saw that you don't tonight, but as far as the way the recommendations are, they gotta be viable recommendations so people can in fact do business in the county. There's a lot of small business in the county. There's a lot of people that have started from the ground up. And, you know, a lot of these laws in face pretty much kneecap people's ability to do anything.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public to seek recognition for public comment? Go out and hand it in that piece of paper too soon.
Well, that's all right.
I'll remember
Yes,
Todd.
I write sloppy, so you probably couldn't read it.
Todd McKinley, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. My name's Todd McKinley, 3528 Rustic Hills Drive. I'm here tonight as president of the Battle of Bluntville Civil War Memorial Park. And I wanted to thank this commission for your support in building the park that's right over here next to the old sheriff's home. I really appreciate that, and I know all veterans do. And I want to recognize Commissioner Crosswhite and Commissioner Sullivan on their work on the board as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. McKinley. Always good to see you, sir. Without objection, that clears the list for public comment. Without objection.
Object.
There you go. Mr. Glover, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to touch base on Mr. Nunley and Mr. Engel coming here tonight before the commission to talk about that slaughterhouse and their ambitions in that to provide quality meat for the people of the county and surrounding area. Back a few years, Commissioner King and I went
met with and talked to the mayor about a slaughterhouse in Sullivan County, and that was just a few months before the big announcement of the Washington County venture that they had. I think we as commissioners of Sullivan County should start looking for and maybe start inquiring about a piece of property or something for these two folks to continue their venture in the process. Right now, if you call to get a beef or a pork or anything like that butchered, you're looking at a 6 to 8 month time period. And that's a long time. And if we go through another pandemic like we did before and count on chain stores and so forth to help us, we don't know how that's going to turn out. And having somebody local that can provide that support for us and buying, and they're also buying local beef from the farmers and paying the farmers for that. And that's a good venture for the farmers too and the people that do this. So if we would, let's kind of look around and work together and see if there's something that we can find for these folks. I think they're looking for something in the Bluntwell area to help. I know for a slaughterhouse we have to have sewer available for them. So let's see if we can get together and move something in a positive manner on this. And thank you guys for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
And talking to us. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Glover. Commissioner McMurray?
We have, I don't know if we have enough room at the Bluntville Middle School.
I was going to bring that up.
That'd be a great use of that open space.
Okay. Anyone have any legitimate public comment? Without objection, the public comment portion of the meeting is closed. I hate to do y'all that way. That takes us into our regular calendar. Does anyone have a recommendation to, I heard someone say they wanted to move a certain resolution to the front of the calendar. Recognize Commissioner Glover.
Mr. Chairman, we turned this resolution in today a little bit late. I think we got here about 3 o'clock, and I don't think a lot of the members have it. But it's got to do with tax relief, and it's got to do with Miss Angela Taylor. Angela's here, and she has a grandson with her, and it's a school night. And if there's no objection, I'd like to move this to the front for discussion. And that way, if we have any questions for Angela, we can do that, and then she can come home and maybe get ready for school tomorrow. I'm going to have to hand a few of these out. I think some folks got them, some didn't. What this resolution is, Mr. Chairman, is a resolution to appropriate up to $400,000 to fully fund a property tax relief program for approximately 4,000 qualified property taxpayers in Sullivan County for the 23-24 tax years, approved as eligible by the state and is approved for in the Tennessee Code. Whereas the state of Tennessee will be conducting a ratio study for tax year 23 ratios between current housing market values and Sullivan County assessed values are expected to reflect a variance of 35% between those two values. I'm not going to read the rest of that, but I am going to go down to the bottom and read the bottom whereas this Sullivan County Board of Commissioners recognizes the need to provide financial assistance with a voucher to be applied as a credit to tax payment of up to $75 to our qualifying payers of property taxes as allowed. And number 1 on the list is elderly over the age 65 with an income limit of $33,460 for the household. And number 2, disabled persons is qualified by the Social Security Administration with an income limit of $33,460 for that household. And number 3, 100% disabled veterans are surviving spouse as determined by the Veterans Administration. And if you'll kind of turn back to the last page and just reflect on what we're doing here, that is an application for this relief program. And that application is filled out by the individual, and it is gave back to Angela, and then it is sent to the comptroller's office for approval. There was a question this evening, Commissioner Statham asked me this, and I think they were at a meeting there, maybe in Chattanooga or somewhere, and it came up that this tax relief program was still happening. And Angela, I'd like for you to explain to them what is going on with this program and why we are bringing this resolution forward.
Okay, so each year the state decides how much each county receives. And that is not universal across the state. Last year, our veterans got $1,053 from the state toward their taxes. This year, that number dropped to $702. Last year, our elderly and our disabled, they had $180. This year, it went to $124. That makes a huge difference, especially in the elderly and disabled folks. So with our ratio changing, which Donna can go into more about that, but with our ratio changing, that has brought this. There's been a change across the state, but all of you all know how our housing market has gotten in this area. So that's what plays into this, and it hurts our people who are struggling anyhow. You all tell me what questions you have, and I'll be glad to answer them. The folks that are on the program now actually receive, this is called an application credit voucher. So when most of you all got that lovely tax notice in the mail, they got this sheet instead, and had to pay, and then they got their discounted amount on top of that. They do have to turn this into the state every year. The county does not decide who qualifies for this program. This is not walk in and say, I want this, and you automatically get it. The state checks Social Security incomes, they check IRS returns. So they check all those things. We have to provide them with information. If you have a life estate on your house, whoever's living in that household that is included in that life estate, let's say grandma makes $15,000 a year, but her grandson lives with her and he makes $105,000. Well, that household's not going to qualify because his income's going to be included. So the state does look at all those things. There's approximately, we're estimating about 4,000 we know. Over 3,700 are a fact that's already gotten this voucher. That's how many definites we have. Each year it goes up a little bit. Our main category is the elderly. Over 2,500 fall in the elderly category. So that's those folks who do have that $33,460 income or less. And also with the disabled veterans, if they're a widow, widower, the spouse can apply for that benefit. So, and as far as if there is the taxpayer living in the household, let's say they pass away, son or daughter moves in, they do not qualify for that tax credit just because they move into that residence. So the state does look at all those things. So they really narrow it down to where it is people who truly, you know, are struggling and do need this money.
Trustee Taylor, we have a couple of folks seeking recognition for questions. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and recognize Commissioner Apert, then Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. Angela, I think this is top of mind on a lot of people. I know I've been asked about something for seniors or certain people and everything, and I just directed your office. I said, I'm sure there's a program, right? It's hard to keep up with every program we have or opportunity. and the numbers you mentioned, I was kind of, so is the 75, like, because I'm not even gonna even get Donna involved trying to explain what we're under on the 66% thing, but, so we're just trying to bridge that gap, right?
We're trying to
Yeah.
bridge the gap from what they received last year
Right,
to trying to help make up that difference.
because with all fingers crossed, we're back to 100% in 2025.
Hopefully.
No, I think it's a good program. I mean, it's been talked about. And I actually told someone, I was like, if y'all can come up with a good opportunity, because they were mentioned in somewhere where, you know, program, I said, well, let's find out about the program so we can understand it and everything. So I'm glad to see this, and a lot of it's probably just about communication and education for everybody.
It is, and we've had a lot of people come in who are new applicants this year. And one of the first statements they make is, well, where I lived before, they paid all my taxes, which was great, but they didn't have a low tax rate like we have. So here, we can give you this, but you're already saving money. So, I mean, you know, you gotta have a balance.
Commissioner Cross, you're recognized, sir.
I have two. Sorry, I have two questions. One's for the sponsor. I was just gonna ask, when you read through the last whereas, when it says tax payment, you said up to 75 and it says at, I just want to make sure.
It will be 75.
Okay.
It will be
I
75.
just want to make sure of that.
We did talk about two different scenarios, maybe doing from 65 up to 75. The reason we set it at 75 is to be fair across the board with everybody, so there won't be a gap in between and somebody will say, well, you know, I got 65 and I got 75, so we just left it at that point.
Yes, thank you. My second question is, thinking of my grandmother, she was in the, is this for county taxpayers as well as that live in the city? Can they apply for this too, if they live in the city limit?
Actually, Andrew, if you live in the city, you can get city relief and you can get state relief. State relief, city, state relief, county.
Thank
So
you.
she could have a savings on Bristol, I'm saying,
Yes.
Bristol, and then a savings in the county too.
Thank you very much.
And I believe Bristol just recently decided to match some of their tax relief money.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner McMurray, you're recognized, sir.
Just briefly, as far as the last whereas on the first page, we've got three different eligibility requirements, right? Well, I know this is nitpicky. It says and I think it should say or. So you don't have to be all three, you only have to be just one. Just one, yes. Yeah, so what if we just changed the ands to ors? I think they fine. Is that okay, Angela?
That is fine, and we will not be qualifying them as far as the county goes. If they are on the state program, then they will be approved for the county program. We will not be making distinctions or, you know, between the groups, or if they qualify for one, they will qualify for the county.
I think when they fill the information out and send it to the comptroller's office, that's how they'll be categorized, which one they qualify
Yes,
for.
yes.
And I would like to make a clarification on this. I didn't put it in this resolution, but I can. And I talked to Angela about this too. Instead of doing it for next year too, I think what we need to do is do it for this year and make sure that everything, and in case something changes next year, we can come back and redo it next year about the same time to recognize the year in the future as far as that goes.
And we will have updated numbers from the state because they will change what they're going to give those
I
categories.
think it'd be the
of
wise,
votes.
I think it'd be the wise thing for us to do is do it for this year, give the assistance, and then come back in 24 and maybe do it again if we have to, if something changes.
All in the affirmative.
That'd be great.
Commissioner Means?
So if we have an elderly person, like right now in mind, what is do we need to tell them to come to your office, or will you have a link that we can send them, or how do we need to direct them?
You can go to the website. There is a link on the website. If you go to the TennesseeTrustee.org and then to Sullivan County, and bring it to the trustees' website. There is a link on that website. If they will call, we'll be glad to mail the application and the documents they need to provide, mainly copy of driver's license. And we know a lot of these folks, they have to have somebody bring them, so and that's not always convenient. So we're happy to mail that out to them. And if they want to come in the office, they are welcome to. We'll sit down with them, we'll help them fill it out, we'll make copies of everything. Keep in mind, Kingsport office is open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Bristol office is Thursday, Friday. Of course, we're always downstairs, so they can come to any of those offices.
All right, thank you very much for doing this, and may I be added as a co-sponsor?
Yes, all those looking in the affirmative will be added, but anybody wants to be a co-sponsor, I would like to go ahead and put your name on here, so in the future, that if anybody pulls it up, instead of going back, well, they're back up in front. We want your names on this, so that people at the tax, payers can see who support them. So, thank you.
That clears the board on questions, Commissioner.
No questions. Angela, when you first talked about this, I know Commissioner Vanover, and I had talked to Zane about this, and Commissioner King, and some other folks about this. It's kind of sad that we've got some folks in a situation like this. And whatever we can do to help them, they're some county residents. And by you and Ms. Whitaker stepping up and asking for us to do this, I want to thank you, because like Andrew said, we got grandmothers and we got veterans and we got some disabled people out there that need help, and they're Sullivan County residents.
And I will add one other thing, Herschel. There's a lot of people on this program where the state might cover all but $15 of their taxes. But this you'll give them, they won't get a refund from that amount, but just that extra $15 will really help them out, so.
That little fellow approached me the other day, and he had his tax papers. And last year his taxes was $135.
And it covered it, yes.
And it covered it, and he said, if I don't get some help this year, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people.
So people just needs to realize $135 to some don't sound like a lot, but $135 to others is a lot of money.
It sure is.
So, thank you, and if anybody wants to be co-sponsors on this, just let me know, and we'll sure put you down.
Commissioner Butler, what's your desired action for the resolution?
I would like to put it on waiver of rules, so we can go ahead and get the folks signed up and give them the assistance that they need.
Sponsor moves waiver of rules, and we'll take this up at our regular commission meeting next week. Thank you, trustee.
Thank you.
May I make a couple other comments, Chairman Gordon?
Go ahead.
Just wanted to give y'all a quick report. So our aggregate this year was $102.8 million. So as of today, we've collected $10.8 million in taxes. Last year, our tax notices weren't even mailed at this point. So we are ahead of schedule. The 22 taxes that were outstanding as of February due date was 10.2, and we've got those down to 2.1. So we are moving along. Thank you.
Okay, we're back to the front of the calendar. Recognize Commissioner Akert on item number 2. Commissioner Akert, item number 2.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. As y'all know, at the last meeting, there was going to try to have a call meeting so we can talk about it, but it has not been able to work out for people scheduled to get that done, so we're going to just hold off and let it go until next Thursday. We have a budget meeting next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, so that way we can also discuss it ahead of time a little bit. There's there's been a lot going on in the county offices, and I'll just be honest with you, I was kind of surprised to see Larry Bailey here tonight. There's been so much going on, sickness and everything, so, we'll let it go till next Thursday, and then, also go for a budget next Wednesday and everything.
Sponsor moves item number 2 to our regular scheduled commission meeting next Thursday. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 3.
This is actually a first reading last month. Sorry I wasn't here, but I had a grandbaby and you guys took second. So I had to take care of that. But so last year, when we went through the budget process, it was the only part of the budget process I didn't care for was the way that the committees actually worked with the nonprofits, where the administrative did half, the executive did half, and nobody really were talking. We didn't know what anybody was doing. It was kind of there was no target, there was no process. This is just to establish a process. I know the budget committee is actually talking about this also, so next Wednesday, the budget committee is meeting and talking about this, so this might be something that I kick to December, but at the time, we're just gonna wait and see what the process is next week, so just keeping it open, and it may change drastically from here to there, but at the same time, just I think everyone agrees that we need a process, and that's what we're trying to do. That's all this is about.
Any questions for the sponsor? Sponsor moves item number 3 to our regular scheduled commission meeting next Thursday. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Vanover on item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. We may recognize item number 4 from the last 2 months, which is a kind of a cleanup resolution to deal with the grant of $250,000 to improve the intersection at Highway 93 and Bloomingdale Road. Been some legalities questioned about whether or not there was a cap on the price that TDOT had in their contract. Our county attorney Streets reviewed it, and he approves this resolution. And I'm just going to read the caption. It's to authorize the mayor and county attorney to sign the contract with TDOT to upgrade the signal at Highway 93 and Bloomingdale Road. Authorizes payment of Sullivan County share to come from existing highway department budget or highway department fund balance. There's no additional monies involved. And if Mr. Street would like to speak to it, he's welcome to. If anybody has any questions, but I'd like to put this in the waiver rules and put it to bed once and for all.
You've heard the explanation.
Third time's a charm.
Any questions for the sponsor on item number 4? Commissioner King.
Would it be a whole lot easier just to move piles so people could get in there instead of doing all this?
That's a dang problem. Those people coming from the west side of Bloomingdale, they want to crowd in and
We're
get
going
the
to spend
piles.
$300,000. Wouldn't it be easier just to move piles up the road?
I've made that suggestion, but
You want to go ahead and put that in a resolution, Mr. King?
they just won't do
Sure,
it.
sure they'll be glad to report it.
I got your wire, though. I got your wire.
Commissioner Vanover, what's your desired action on item?
I'm asking for waiver of rules, please.
Sponsor moves waiver of rules, take the item number 4 up at our next scheduled commission meeting next Thursday. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Iverson on item number 5.
At the meeting we had, the TCCA meeting, TCSA meeting in Chattanooga, one of the items that was there was a retirement seminar. The retirement seminar, they were talking about how that TCRS is open to boards as far as commissions and school boards inside of the counties across the state. They mentioned that 20 of those counties have done it, at least 20, he didn't give me an exact number. As close as Washington County has it, Hawkins County has it also, he said. And it's just, he wanted to make sure that everyone realized it was actually a possibility for us to be involved with the TCRS process. The item in front of you is going to be for first reading, so we have plenty of time to think about it. But this is exactly what they did. This is, they asked if we were interested. I said, if we are, they said, okay, fine, this is what we did. So they gave me all the document in front of me. It's their creation. So if there's anything that we want to change, we have to go back and let the state change it. So the process is, there's three options. The option in front of us is the only thing that matters now, because if we're not interested in this, then none of the other options matter. If we pass this, it means it starts whenever we pass it. So I guess it'd be close to the first of the year because of the way we're looking at it. If in fact, after that, we say that we like this and we want to move forward with it, there's a possibility of an actuary study and looking at a retroactive thing, but that's totally up to you guys if we do this first, so let's not even worry about that. This is not something you have to do, it's totally voluntary. If you are a TCRS current member, which is any of our county employees, they're not eligible under this because you can't have two streams, you only have one. If you're a TCRS retired person, there is a way that this actually will help on that. I've heard a couple different questions. I know one of the things was it's a 5-year period. So if you're in for one term and you pay into it and don't get reelected or choose not to, from what I'm hearing from Mr. Student, you can actually get that money back you requested and they give you the money back. There's a little bit of question, I'll have that by the time next meeting rolls around, but definitely by the time we're actually voting on it, which is next month, of if someone is in it for 4 years and then goes away and then comes back for 4 years, does that get the 5-year criteria? I'm not positive, but I will know that by the time we roll around. So this is just something for us to consider, and with them saying that several counties across the state have it, I thought it's at least worth the conversation to say, is it something we want to do? If it's not something we want to do, that's fine, but I'd hate to not do something for lack of knowing. So that's the whole reason this is here.
You've heard the explanation on item number 5. Recognize Commissioner Aker on item number 5.
Thank you, Chairman, and I already put mine away. I forgot that we had a last resolution there. So do we pay into it, did you say? I saw some numbers when I glanced at it.
Yes, there's a county portion and an employee portion, which is what we would be under that thing. It's 6.5% and 5.5%. I can't remember exactly which one it is. So the county would pay a portion of it, the employee would pay a portion of it. If you make the 5 years and get eligible for the system, then TCRS pays it, the county does not.
So then the other question you mentioned about trying to see it retroactively. So like if we've been, so for me, like I've had 4 years, just finished the 5th year.
Yes.
So then I could if we decided to retroactive because of continuation.
That's correct.
Then I could start. I'm just asking.
Yes. So and if we choose to do this and we do and look at that, the second resolution that they gave, they sent me 3 resolutions.
Okay.
The second resolution is an actuary study, and it goes it's $500 or $600, and the county, like this body would say, I want you to look back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever we choose to do. And at that point, they will tell you, if you choose to do this, this is how much it would cost the employees, and this is how much it would cost the county. And if we choose to do it, then the third resolution is we want to do it and accept the study. So that's why I say this one is the only thing that matters, because if we say no, then the retroactive doesn't matter. But if we say yes, then it is a conversation to have. Do we want to look at a retroactive thing and get the actuary study? I think he said it's $500 or $600. Either way, it's a very small amount. And at that point, it'll give us exact numbers of every individual and how much the county would have to pay.
All right, and if I remember, it said city, county, and special district school boards? I don't know if there's anything, but could you be on 2 of them and double dip on it or anything?
I think you can add the numbers. You can actually add the numbers. The thing that they said is you can only have 1 stream at a time. So you can't double dip at a certain time, but you can have a second.
Oh, it's 2 paychecks.
Commissioner Iverson, what's your discussion about it? First reading. Sponsor moves first reading on item number 5, be taken up at our next scheduled meeting. That we come to at the end of our resolution calendar.
There's actually a couple that we will hand it out. I actually handed them out, so if you don't have a copy, I don't have a copy.
Did you hand it? Okay.
We got a rule like here.
How many do we have?
Everybody has one. She has one also. The clerk has it. Every member has a copy. I've got one. There's everyone has a copy.
Commissioner Iverson on item number 6.
So in front of you is item 6 and 7. I think the numbers will change to 7 and 8. All this is about is in Sullivan Gardens at the old Sullivan Gardens Middle School, across the street, there's recycling bins. It's making it very inconvenient for the ball fields and all the kids there because it's taking up all the parking spots. So we've worked with TDOT to find out who has the right-of-way. Then we went with City of Kingsport, and now with Solid Waste in Sullivan County. And Mark Torbett is, you guys want to say something first?
We got announcements.
Oh, they got announcements. Let's do announcements.
We
don't, Hunter does.
Hunter
This is Miss Torbett. So everybody congratulate Mr. and Miss Torbett. She said, I think everybody knows. I said, I don't think so. Come on in.
Yeah, really.
Angela, I addressed you as trustee Taylor all night long. You didn't correct me.
So I remain trustee.
That's part of the deal.
That's part of the deal.
Trustee Torbett. Trustee Torbett.
No, trustee Taylor.
Okay, that name can change. We'll buy you new signs.
Do what?
We'll buy you new signs. Let's take this forward.
Anyway, back on the resolution.
Well, that definitely stole the thunder, but that's okay. If Mr. Torbett gets up in a minute, it's going to be a less exciting thing that he talks about next. So anyway, we had to start. We've located an area that's along the 4-lane in Sullivan Gardens. It's on the closed portion of Sullivan Gardens Drive, and currently there's only one house there, but it's nowhere near the entrance. It's annexed by Kingsport. TDOT has waived any rights to it. Kingsport has given us the authority to do it with a couple of restrictions. The restrictions are it needs to be fenced and it also needs to be lighted, but according to Mr. Corbett, that's actually the law anyway that has to happen. So what this resolution is trying to do, the first page, is if we have to have a lease, which I'm working with Dan now. I didn't realize he was back today, or I'd already talked to him. And so by the time next week rolls around, we'll know if we have to have a lease or if we can do it by memorandum of understanding, which I'm hoping is that way. If we can get the memorandum of understanding between the two groups and establish that as the new recycling location, it should have much more impact. It should have a much better flow of recyclables. And Kingsport's excited about it also, or at least their public works are, because it gives them one more location inside the city of Kingsport. So they're good with the location, we're good with the location. Mr. Corbett's great with moving it down there. He's already gotten one bid, which takes it to the next page. And the one bid so far was $16,900 to put the fencing around it. I put at or below $20,000 just because the light pole is going to make it a little bit more expensive, and he said that $20,000 should work. If he spends less, it'll be less. The part I did not put on here is it will be coming from our general fund because he does not have enough money in his budget to do that. But it's, even if we don't move it, he still has no fencing and no lighting at the current location, so it still has to buy the fence and the light. So either way, we're still going to be spending the same amount of money. But this is a much better location. It's going to help the ball field, it's going to help the community, and it should give them a much bigger flow of revenue or recyclables. And the one thing that I'm going to try to do is waiver of rules on the next meeting, because he wants to have it in place. He wants to have the fencing done in time to make the holidays. That way people don't just throw a lot more stuff away. They can actually bring all these boxes of presents to the recyclables.
Commissioner Glover, you recognize on item number 6.
I don't know if this question is going to be from, I've marked you as sponsor. We talked about this in the administrative committee. If we're going to spend $20,000 or up to $20,000, we need to have some type of agreement to have a time frame of, we might go in there and spend this kind of money and then come back in 6 months and say, okay, we got another idea for that road or that cul-de-sac or whatever back in there. So I think we need some kind of, if not a long term, at least some type of agreement and so many days notice for something of this sort.
And I understand, I agree completely with what you're saying. That's why I hope we'll have an MOU by that time. But as of right now, there's several sites inside of Kingsport, and I believe inside of Bluntville, that Mr. Corbett has recycling bins on their property. He's providing the bins, and they're providing the location. So I don't think it's gonna be anything that they would run away from, but even the lease that we have from 2012 at Northeast State, it says anytime that someone doesn't want it there. So even if we do a lease, it's still gonna be a very quick turnaround. And we will have something, at least an MOU, and like a 90-day or some kind of hopefully 30, 60, 90-day thing. But I don't think there's any chance of recyclables will go away, and that we're going to expand those, especially when we do hopefully our next step. But I understand, we'll try to have something.
Okay. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Last month, we done a resolution on recycled oil.
Yes.
And Commissioner Pierce asked me earlier about that, and I'd like for you to give him some kind of clarification. When we start picking this recycled oil up in Kingsport and other areas, are they gonna be designated places that people can take this oil to for you to pick up?
We already have designated places in the county. The only thing we did with this, we've had a used oil grant for some time to cover the drop-off sites, which we have one in Bristol, Kingsport, having here in Bluntville. So what we'll be doing with this trailer that we've got a grant for is we'll go around and service those sites, and we'll pump the oil out. And then at our plant in Kingsport and the highway department, Scotty and them, they also have a site at their location. And we all have heaters that we got on the grants, and so we burn the oil for heat.
So if Archie's question is, at this recycling center that we're gonna do there in Kingsport, it's just gonna be for plastic, aluminum, cardboard, and so forth, right?
Oh, yeah, in Sullivan Gardens?
Yes.
Yes, because where our used oil container drop-off locations has to be a manned location.
Okay.
Because if not, we'll end up with all kinds of contaminants. And so that's why they are manned areas, where we can sort of watch what does go in the antifreeze. So we have an antifreeze drop-off also, so antifreeze and the oil.
Where's the oil at Kingsport?
If you pull down, if you go into the landfill, for Kingsport landfill, and our recycle plant, my transfer station's right there together, just right as you make that turn, there's a cover right there, and there's a big yellow 300-gallon tank right there. And it has marked on a used oil drop-off.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Good. That's what it's going to be. Since she's elected and I'm not.
Mark, before you sit down,
Oh, yes.
I apologize for not asking you if you have anything else to add to that, because you have all the expertise on this location.
Yeah, you know, it's been a problem out there. When I took over, this was a problem. We've been trying to find a place to move it. Temporarily, right now we have moved over behind school. And we've already got some complaints about that because it's not in a good location. People can't find it. And so Mark and them found this piece of property down there. Well, first off, it's state right away, but it's City of Kingsport. It's just that deal where the city, you know, annexed out 93. And so everything around it's county property. So as far as the city and city residents benefiting off this site, it's not really going to amount to anything. It's going to be county residents benefiting off this site. So we're just basically moving it down the road about a mile and a half, and then it'll give us the opportunity to have a better area for recyclables. Because it is a good location. We do get a lot of people into it, so we'd like to have the opportunity now to improve it for them.
Commissioner Van, you're recognized, sir.
I think while Mark's up there, if you would, Mark, just part of the recycling program with these shirts and wearing those next month is to bring awareness about No Trash November. I think next month you're going to ask for a resolution to make Sullivan County a recycling-friendly county.
Yes.
As part of this program. That's in order to get us eligible for grants and to move forward with the program. So when he brings that resolution next month, I hope we can get a sponsor and 23 co-sponsors. So I want to say that.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Harrison, you can have the last word on the resolution, sir.
Nothing other than just say it's going to be a waiver of rules so we can get this going, but that's all.
Thank you. Without objection, that brings us to the end of our resolution calendar. Floor is open for any announcements.
Motion to adjourn.
We have Commissioner Cross, then Commissioner King.
I had a request for some of the commissioners from my class that came in. When we first got elected, Sam Jones had given us a placard. I've got an FFA student trying to go over Robert's Rules of Order, and I told her I'd give her that little placard that he had given us. If anybody has a copy of that, if I could borrow it, and make copies for the FFA kids. I appreciate that.
Go ahead and take Sam's.
That conference is.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Sam, if you're watching, I'm just messing with you. Commissioner King, you're recognized, then Commissioner Glover.
Thank you. Appreciate Commissioner Nunley coming and talking to us tonight. Both of y'all, appreciate y'all coming and letting us have a little insight of what y'all trying to do. If any of y'all need a gift package of beef, pork, these boys can do it for you. No, you're buying it, but they're providing it. But anyway, and they're buying a lot of their beef from local farmers.
Yes, sir.
And that's helping the local farmers, and people now are they're wanting to know exactly where their beef is coming from and stuff, and with having a local slaughterhouse here that we can go to, I think that's going to be a great help to us in this county. And I know that Washington County is going on with their plans of having a bigger slaughterhouse, doing other things. But as they're starting at the bottom, but still there's a lot of good plans that they've got to make this thing a go and to make it bigger. And if support them, buy some beef from them. Chicken, pork, whatever they're selling, but anyway, just support them and, help them get started, and we'll try to find them a place to put it, so. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you. Commissioner Glover, then Commissioner Means. Commissioner Glover.
The resolution we done earlier that had the veterans in it and the folks in it that sacrificed so much for us. Miss Joyce Crosswhite and her husband, Kelly, are the first ones that come to mind with the support that she's gave veterans and the sacrifices that he made. And tomorrow will be, I think, Veterans Day for us and Commissioner Statham and the other veterans that we've got in here. Thank you for everything that you've done, and Archie, and Sam's not here, but we live in a free country, and the reason we get to live and do things that we do, even on our own land, like we talked about tonight, we want to thank the veterans for that. And Ms. Crosswhite's words of encouragement on that resolution and things before, thank you. And I didn't find out, I went hunting yesterday, and I didn't really find out till late. Yesterday's Miss Crosswhite's birthday. So we need to sing happy birthday to Miss Crosswhite tonight. And would you jump up on the table, please? And Tony, would you care to hold her up on the table? But thank you so much, and you tell Kelly we appreciate you. Thank you.
Before anybody gets on their desk, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pretty sure Mr. Nunley has, what was that picture you showed me earlier?
Bison.
Bison, that's what it was. So y'all go back there and look at that picture. And next week we got a vote coming up that I just wanted to kind of comment on. That I want us to make sure that we've been voted in for the people, by the people, and I want to be able to communicate with the people what it is we're doing. And don't want to come up later on at all going, where's the baseball field, like we're doing at West Ridge with where's my pool. So I just wanted to comment on that. So I appreciate all your all's input on that. Thank you.
Anyone else seek recognition? Anyone have a motion they wish to make? Without objection, stand adjournment to Thursday next.
Sure.